Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Battlefield 6 has once again announced some pretty important updates here that'll be coming in Season 3 in the near future in regards to gameplay, things that they've been working on for months that they are finally going through and updating. We also, in addition to that, got some very good news about the anti-cheat as well. They posted this anti-cheat update blog just a few days back, and while it's not too lengthy, it does give us a standing update on the anti-cheat itself. So they say, hey soldier, time for another heartbeat regarding the ebb and flow of keeping fair play going in Battlefield 6. March was the midpoint of Season 2, which brought some changes in strategy as the landscape shifted. Generally, we see increased activity from cheaters and cheat devs during the transition from end of one season into the start of the next. During this time, our anti-cheat teams also similarly shift focus from emptying our stores of new detections back into building them up, resulting in a fairly stable period for players. So within March here, we can see the graph of matches that have been infected with cheaters here, basically their match infection rate here. So honestly, not seeing a huge jump up on the graph at any given date here, which is probably going to be a good thing long term. They say in March, match infection rate started at its low point for the month at 2.5%. This continued to increase until it peaked at 3% on the 30th. The lowest recorded point was at 2.3% on the 25th. By the start of April, it was at 2.97. While we released a few targeted detections during that period, it was also when we started to shift back into storing up some new detections for increased cheat developer activity ahead of Season 3's launch. Through March, EA Javelin anti-cheat prevented 333,000 attempts to cheat or tamper with the game before they could impact matches. We're still tracking 226 cheat-related programs, hardware solutions, vendors, resellers, and their associated communities. Of those, 217 of them are reporting related feature failures, detection notices, downtime, or fully taking their cheats offline. So some good news here for sure. It does seem like they are feeling pretty confident in the anti-cheat going into Season 3. Beyond that though, we also just got another new community update that details even more major gameplay updates coming to Battlefield 6, this time largely focusing on vehicle gameplay. This has been a hot topic ever since launch because they just haven't felt quite right since the start of Battlefield 6, and we've got a very detailed blog about what's coming here in the near future as far as gameplay updates and vehicle updates in general. And by the way, as we're going through all the gameplay updates they're about to detail here, if you guys enjoy the video, you find the information helpful, do me a favor, hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, you want to stay informed with everything going on in Battlefield 6, there's no better place than right here, so feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. So first up, they start off by saying what we've learned. We've seen consistent feedback around predictability, survivability, and responsiveness in vehicle combat, both when fighting in vehicles and also fighting against them. Vehicle encounters can feel different to read during combat with outcomes that aren't always clear in the moment. In some situations, vehicles feel too fragile, while in others, they feel too difficult to deal with, especially when supported by engineers or coordinated repairs. This applies whether you're engaging another vehicle or trying to take one down as infantry, and it's not always clear as to why an engagement plays out the way it does. We've also seen the most effective vehicle playstyles lean towards low-risk, long-range engagements, and while this is an effective approach, we want to make frontline vehicle strategies more viable, helping squads capture and defend objectives. Our goal with these changes is to address these friction points directly, improving how vehicle gameplay feels without fundamentally changing their role on the battlefield. So more predictable vehicle combat is coming. One of the most important areas we've focused on is making vehicle combat more consistent and easier to follow. We are toning down some of the extremes of our damage system while helping players better anticipate the outcome of engagements. Previously, many anti-tank tools were capable of eliminating tanks in only 2 hits. With the exception of some specialized tools, this will be increased to 3 hits across the board. Flanking vehicles will remain the most effective way to neutralize them, but will offer vehicle players more opportunity for counterplay. Alongside this, we're also simplifying some elements of the damage calculation system. Instead of a wide, continuous range of possible values, hits will fall into a smaller set of clearly defined outcomes based on impact, angle, and location. So damaging tanks is going to be more predictable. You're going to know, okay, if I aim here, I'm going to do this much damage. If I aim there, I'll do that much damage. For example, currently in game, hitting a tank from the side with an RPG could deal a wide range of damage depending on subtle differences in an angle, making it difficult to judge how many times you have to hit it for it to blow up. If you're trying to get rid of a tank that's on a choke point and you're calming, okay, it's weak, it needs 1 more rocket, then you got to shoot 3 more because you're hitting it at a weird angle, it's obviously going to be very, very frustrating. With these changes, these outcomes will be much more consistent. A similar shot will result in one of a smaller number of predictable damage values, depending on the quality of the hit. This still rewards positioning and lining up on strong angles, but it makes it easier to understand how much damage is being dealt. We're also reducing the number of vehicle-specific damage modifiers and rebalancing vehicle health pools. Previously, vehicles like the MBT could be more durable than the IFV in certain situations, but just as fragile in others depending on hit angle or location. By removing those inconsistencies and relying on the health differences, it becomes easier to understand how many more hits a vehicle can take. Again, just making it so it's something you can actually learn. Finally, we're also making changes to guided weapons so their damage is no longer affected by impact angles or hit location. Weapons that are not manually aimed will deal a consistent amount of damage, while also making improvements to how anti-air missiles interact with countermeasures such as flares to improve the reliability on those. They're also going after more controlled survivability. Another key area of feedback has been how inconsistent vehicle survivability can feel, particularly depending on access to repairs and support. While vehicles could sometimes feel fragile, in other cases, stacking repairs could allow them to sustain heavy damage and still maintain their lethality. To address this, we're making changes to how vehicles recover health and how repairs behave. Instead of repairing at a constant rate, they will begin strong but then weaken over time while a vehicle remains in combat. Additionally, we're introducing diminishing returns when multiple engineers are repairing the same vehicle at the same time. These changes keep coordination valuable while ensuring repairs don't scale in a way that's just overpowered, basically. At the same time, we're reworking health regen by removing health brackets from all vehicles. Vehicles will take longer to begin regenning health after exiting combat, increasing from roughly 6 seconds to 12 seconds. Once regen begins, however, it'll be significantly faster, increasing around 5% of health per second to 10%, and will continue all the way to full health instead of stopping at set thresholds. Even when critically damaged, vehicles will no longer be prevented from regenning entirely. Instead, regen will continue at a heavily reduced rate, roughly 80% slower than normal. So getting vehicles down to crit is going to be really important. Overall, this means vehicles take longer to safely recover during combat, but are more self-sufficient once they do disengage. And then this might be the most important thing here: increased control and responsiveness. Vehicle controls, maneuverability, it just has not felt right since the start of Battlefield 6. There's always been a sort of clunkiness, a little bit of awkwardness to it here. Responsiveness has been a major focus area, particularly in how vehicles handle under pressure. Controlling a tank should convey its weight and presence while still allowing players to react quickly to changing situations. We're improving acceleration and turning to make vehicles more responsive. We're also increasing turret rotation speeds and improving how aiming behaves, especially in first person. Additionally, we're reducing how often armored vehicles lose mobility as a result of taking damage. Immobilization will be tied to specific tools, such as anti-vehicle mines, rather than being triggered by general damage. For air vehicles, we're also making improvements to threat awareness, including new UI indicators that'll better help pilots identify incoming missiles and threats. These changes will give players more control in combat and help them respond more effectively. I think this is going to be very impactful on gameplay here. And so they sort of tie this all together. What does this mean for gameplay? Taken together, these changes are basically going to overhaul vehicle gameplay. By making combat easier to read, handling more responsive, and survivability more consistent, players are better equipped to make more meaningful decisions about how they play with vehicles when it comes to engagements, repositioning, and influencing the flow of battle here. Loadouts and supporting changes are also coming, though, to sort of balance out this general in-game engagement system. To support these changes, we are making some adjustments to vehicle and engineer loadouts. Some customization options that contributed to unclear gameplay outcomes are being removed or reworked. For example, removing the reinforced plating upgrade, as it made it harder to judge incoming damage and overshadowed other choices. To support this change, we're also adjusting baseline vehicle durability and replacing it with a new passive that speeds up the recharge rate of countermeasures, such as the projectile intercept system and the thermal blocking smoke while at low health. At the same time, we've made some targeted improvements to underused vehicle equipment and passives to make them more worth using. Thermal smoke will now deal damage to enemy soldiers within its radius, increasing its defensive value in close quarters. Counterfire radar will include a passive component to improve its uptime and overall utility, providing more consistent awareness. We've also expanded equipment options for vehicles like the IFV, which will have access to additional tools such as mine countermeasures and the mobile command center as well. In addition, we're taking a closer look at the engineer loadouts. As a part of this update, we're completing a full balance pass on launchers, including improvements to underused options like the 9K38 Igla and the MBT Law. These changes include adjustments to damage and projectile behavior, helping each launcher feel more reliable and distinct. We're also applying the same approach to anti-vehicle mines, giving each option a more clear purpose within that sandbox. Overall, these changes are designed to create a healthier balance across the engineer toolkit, reducing reliance on a small number of very dominant loadouts and giving you more options basically to be effective depending on your play style and your preference. Then lastly, here they do talk a little bit about future updates happening. These are just some of the key updates and thinking behind the approach to the vehicle overhaul, if you will. There's more coming across vehicle survivability, handling, and UI that they'll share closer to the launch of Season 3. We're also reviewing how vehicles perform across Battlefield 6 experiences, including RedSec, where further BR-specific adjustments are planned, and those will be coming as well. So RedSec's not going to see as many major vehicle overhauls here, but they will be coming eventually, just not right at Season 3 alongside the rest of the stuff here. But some pretty major updates happening here with Season 3 in terms of gameplay. We've already talked about a lot of the planned things happening based on their previous community updates. This is just stacking even more. So it does feel like Battlefield 6 is really making a push to turn things around starting here with Season 3. It's going to wrap things up for this video, though. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe on your way out so you can guarantee you're always up to date with everything going on in Battlefield. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.